I recently just graduated a few weeks ago. No more high school, and summer vacation could finally begin. Well, if only it were that simple. Any college is a hard place to get into. Maybe for grades, maybe for money. For me, it was money. I wanted to get into this huge art school in Florida. I desperately wanted to get into there and, become an animator in the future. Heck, maybe work for bigger companies, and use my art skills and such. But where I live, money doesn't come easy. Jobs are limited, and saving is difficult, and it's a very hard thing to do when you have to pay for insurance, car payments, stuff like that. The usual that people have to pay for. Well, with summer vacation now starting, I, of course, was looking for a job. Something that paid well. Upon all the other jobs out there that, decide to ghost me, and any application I sent, only one responded. It was a summer job at a theme park, and, it was set up for the season. When I did apply to multiple positions there, the only one that responded from the location was a position for a night watchman at an attraction called the Circus. There wasn't any photos of the attraction, and it seemed fairly new. As for the pay, they offered me to pay me $12 per hour. That was more than I actually had expected, surprisingly. I guess they needed a night guard that badly. They called me in for an interview that evening. Upon arriving at the theme park, it looked like a fun place. It looked like your average, temporary summer theme park. After walking around a bit, I found the 2-story building labeled the Circus. Scariest show on earth. Upon entering the building, I was greeted by one of the workers there. He had a scruffy beard and wore a t-shirt with the name of the attraction on it.
Hi, I'm Owen. You must be the applicant for the night watch position, right?
Yes, sir. Name's Hayden Souls. Nice to meet you.
No need to be so formal. Let me give you a tour of the place.
Mr. Owen led me through the location. It didn't look like your typical circus. The halls and the decorations resembled something you'd find in a horror movie. Torn posters and clown masks on the wall, and I think some fake blood. Checkered floor, the walls looked decayed, and I even saw cages of what looked like bones of dead animals.
Don't worry, those are obviously fake. You see, the Circus is a new horror attraction we're trying to get started. It's been in the plan phases for a few months. We got the supplies, the building is set up, we even got some frightening characters to brighten the place up.
Hold on. Characters?
Oh, yeah. We weren't really original with them. We just want an attraction that, could scare people for the summer. Our goal wasn't entirely originality, so not only did we get a team of people to design the attraction, but our characters we gave a bit of a circus-themed glow-up were brought from an auction in Utah.
Utah? All the way out there? Also, what characters? Are people dressing up in costumes?
Oh, no. We didn't buy costumes from an auction all the way in Utah. These are animatronics. Apparently some lackluster horror attraction in Hurricane, Utah got burned down in an accidental fire. We were able to buy a majority of animatronic parts left from the smoke.
We entered this stage room next. It had chains hanging from the ceiling. The stage was circular with a black and red lined pattern. The walls were painted to look rusty and aged.
This is where we keep one of the animatronic characters. One of our designers luckily knew a bit on robotics and was able to put together this horrific, magician-like character.
My eyes scanned the room, but I couldn't find this character that he was talking about. Suddenly, a fox-like head dived down from the pitch-black ceiling. Its eyes glowing, its teeth sharp and figure mangled. It looked like one of those animatronics you'd find in a children's pizzeria, but this, it looked like a mess of parts. It had 3 legs, arms in places it shouldn't, and 2 heads. One head being an endoskeleton head with bunny ears, and the other a fox head. It donned a small top hat and a magician's wand.
Sorry, that is never not funny. This here is what our staff calls the mangle. I'm sure the reason we call it that is clear. We got a box of parts from the auction. Some being heads of what looked like a bunny, fox, and I think a duck. We thought the fox head looked scarier. Anyways, down here is our next animatronic character.
Upon leaving the room, I couldn't help but feel like the eyes of that thing was still on me. Its glowing yellow and blue eyes never leaving its gaze. Upon entering the next room, this looked more like an actual circus stage room. The middle being the sandy area where circus acts would perform, with the wider edges of the room being the seats where everyone would just sit and watch the show. In the middle of the room, a small stage was out and looked like it would follow the same pattern of the Mangle stage, but on this one, it looked like what looked like a ringmaster animatronic, but its head was also a fox. One hand looked like it was a whip.
This here is another animatronic we put together from spare parts. We just call him the Ringmaster. We ran out of animatronic parts for the hands, so we just made one of its hands a whip. We felt like it, got the point across. We basically just ran out of parts for this character in general. Though I think it looks more intimidating with, only one eye.
The thing did look unfinished, and also very damaged. Its fur looked painted white, like if it was another color before. And its clothes looked like it was found from a school's drama department. Its hat was tall and tattered. This thing is unnerving.
Well, that's the goal. Anyways, I think I have one more character to show.
While walking down the hallway, I thought I could hear a slight noise. It sounded like a music box. I'm guessing Mr. Owen noticed the music too, 'cause he was looking straight at me with a blank stare. His eyes moved left and right, as if he were trying to prepare what to say next.
Don't mind the music. It's, from a character we weren't able to fix. Yeah, fix.
Oh, okay. Should I be concerned about that?
I don't know why you should be. These are robots after all. Anyways, in the room right here, we have a clown animatronic.
In front of me, I saw what looked like a clown, alright, but it just looked, well, as if it were something else before. Its ears resembled what I'm guessing is bunny ears. Its snout making it seem animal-like. What was this thing before?
Oh, this was an animatronic that actually held pretty, good together after the fire in Utah. So we just decided to paint over it, give it a clown suit, and just stick stuff all over it. The purple hair on it was actually from one of the suits salvaged from the fire. But I think it was just from the casing. It wasn't from any of the robots. Also, one of our staff did try to look inside the thing for parts, or maybe a way to make it move, but its insides just looked burnt. It was also kinda questionably squishy. The inside of the suit is just a charred mess beyond recognition at this point.
So, this animatronic doesn't move at all?
Unfortunately, yes. It's just for show. We'll probably just pose in a creepy way just for visitors to be scared out of their minds when passing by. Anyways, let's see, I think that concludes the tour. Here is a Dark Circus t-shirt, and, remember to be here by midnight. I'll leave a voice message for, you, when your shift, begins. Before I leave. You enjoy your afternoon.
Upon leaving the attraction, I could still hear the music box from the distance. Something felt mesmerizing about it. I couldn't figure out what, but it's just something about it. It just, I don't know. Later at night, as I entered the building at like 11:45 p.m., the air felt chill. Same as usual when I entered, earlier today. The lights in the place are out, leaving the place in darkness beyond sight. Luckily, I brought a flashlight. Flickering it on, the place looked much creepy at night. The slight wind coming through, pushing against the curtains, posters, and metal chains around. As if I wasn't the only person here. When entering what I assumed was the security office, I saw a desk topped with a small fan, a few papers, and a cassette player with a tape next to it. I popped the tape in the player and listened, assuming it, must have been important. There was a note next to it saying, "Play me." So, can you blame me?
Hey kid, if you're hearing this, it means you arrived to your shift and found this here tape. I know I could've just, left a note or something. I guess technically I did. Maybe a text or a phone call, I don't know. But I thought this would be, more fun. And plus, I had, a cassette tape, player just laying around, so, might as well put it to use. Anyways, let me just give you the rundown on your office. First, there should be a control panel in that room that turns on the emergency lights in the building. We keep the main power off at night to prevent any equipment from possible electrical damage. The emergency lights are just so you can navigate the place without being in the dark blind, in case you didn't bring a flashlight. Second, I know this wasn't stated in your job description, but right after you left the building, one of our staff ended up attacking one of the animatronics. Maybe they got spooked or maybe something happened. Regardless, if you could, can you check out the Ringmaster animatronic and see if you can fix its jaw? It's hanging a bit loose and won't respond to its animatronic movement patterns. And let's see. Finally, if you hear any sounds resembling a music box, please stay away from it and don't get near the sound. We did have another night guard before you, but they left due to complications involving said music box. To prevent any injuries or accidents, please do not get near that sound if you do end up hearing it. Thank you. You have a nice night.
The tape ends, and I will say it was rather odd. Then again, this is a horror attraction, so maybe they were just trying to scare me. Since I couldn't clock out until 6 in the morning, I decided to take out a sketchbook I brought with me and start drawing to pass the time. The past hour, I just drew random things like The Office, a TV show character, maybe some animals. But after a while, I started drawing a sketch of a character I didn't even know. It just popped in my head. Yeah. I was drawing them with long legs, arms above its head. It had metallic hair and a bun, the head having its eyes closed, and its torso wearing a tutu. It resembled a ballerina, I believe. Before I got too immersed in the sketch, I heard a loud crash of what sounded like a metal, what sounded like metal coming from down the hall. I grabbed a flashlight off the desk and looked down the hallway. Nothing. Considering it's my first night on the job, I decided to just, take a look and not ignore the sound, even if I was starting to get really creeped out now. Entering the huge circus stage-like room that held the ringmaster, I remember what Owen wanted me to check, and I went close to the ringmaster animatronic and checked on its jaw. Upon closer inspection, it did look like it took a mean hit in the head. I put one hand on its jaw and tried to click it back into place, but it wouldn't click or stay attached for long. It would just dangle back down. The fox-like animatronic felt really just not right. It felt like it was watching me, but every time I look at its eyes, it's not. With all the slight panic I was feeling, I could hear a dripping sound. Drip after drip was all I can hear in the room that stayed deadly silent. I looked at its one mechanical hand and saw something dripping from it. Is that blood? I just start to walk away and just go back to the office. Upon leaving, though, the animatronic, it powered on, and it was looking at me, and it spoke.
Welcome to the Dark Circus. Tonight's show is a real bloodbath.
I stood shocked at what I seemed to be looking at. The fact that it seemed to power on its own. I mean, did it? Was that even possible? Before I could even think more on this, it looked straight at me. It wasn't just, looking around the crowd. No, it was looking directly at me.
Of course, I will need a volunteer from the audience. Any takers? How about you, young man?
It seemed almost sentient. Without thinking fully, I started to run away, heading back to the office. But every hallway felt the same, and I felt I was trapped in some sort of maze. I felt I was being chased. And then I tripped and fell on the floor. Above me was a vent in the ceiling, and it was dark up there. But I could see something emerging from the pitch black void above. The mangle. It dove right down, but before it could lay any of its teeth upon my skull, I slid over and got back up, using a loose pipe beside the wall. I smashed it across its head when it tried to lunge at me. When it hit like that, its face was damaged, its snout was separated from its head on the floor.
Oh, what a mean trick. Don't you want?
Without hesitation, I continued to beat that junk pile into pieces. I kept smashing it until it was nothing but a mess of parts that couldn't even function. I know what I did. And this would definitely get me fired in the morning. But I didn't care. No amount of money was worth this hell. But in all the madness that took over me, suddenly I heard a faint sound. It was that music box. I know what Mr. Owen told me not to, but I had to know why I couldn't. I mean, sure, whatever it is, wherever it's coming from, could kill me, but why could I not resist the temptation to see what it was? I felt no control over my own body. Getting closer to the sound, I was now in a storage room. In the corner, I saw what looked like a ballerina animatronic. It looked rusted, aged, and beyond repair. And yet, music still emitted from it still. Then I could hear joints clicking inside the machine. How is this thing functional? Its eyes were closed, and yet I could see its endoskeleton as its face was severely broken. I knew this wasn't right. Nothing in this damn place was right. Whatever logic existed didn't exist here. I started to back away, but then I bumped into something behind me. It was big. I looked at it, and there it was. The clown. It oozed something black from inside it. Deep within its tattered, messed up suit was just darkness, oozy blackness. And in its hands was a huge mallet. I was trapped, nowhere to go. Only one thing was left for me as it lifted its massive hammer.
Hey, you there, Victor? Listen, we're closing the attraction. I know this place hasn't been, even opened yet, technically, but we just lost another night watchman last night. Found him in the storage room with that thing. He was a mess. I can't tell the police. They won't believe me. You said you want these robots, right? Take them. They're too much trouble. Whatever you plan to do with them, leave me out of it. I wish you well.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fazbear Feed podcast. And if you enjoyed it and want more, please like and subscribe. Any support is appreciated and will help contribute to making this podcast even better. And also, the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 anniversary is coming up in a few days, so make sure to hang out with your favorite animatronic buddies. And I apologize if this episode of the Fazbear Feed podcast is a tad late. With everything starting to get back in working order in the world, it's getting a little, I'm still trying to get used to making a podcast. But still, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and just remember...
Friends are forever.